Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the CHEP Career Fair. My name is Tumelo Zondi, and I'll be facilitating today's. I'd like to welcome all the CHEP representatives that are with us today. Thank you so much for your time, and all the attendees or the students that have decided to attend this morning. Yes, please feel free to engage and send through your questions through the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. I will start off by playing a quick clip or video from CHEP, an intro video, and then I'll give an opportunity to any CHEP representative with us who would like to share any words with our attendees today. And then I'll open up the floor for any questions that the students might have.
So the CHEP South African business has been around since 1979. So we've been around for a long time, and it's one of the most mature operations in the Brambles stable.
We've got a culture that is embedded in actually people coming to work as their true selves and not actually coming to work leaving their hearts at home. It means that we value differences and we respect differences, and not just about race, but it's about diversity of thought. We're amongst the top 100 employers, which is just fantastic for our organization.
In essence, we've got a pool of equipment, materials handling equipment, basically unit loads, that we supply to industry and that industry shares amongst themselves. So that equipment varies from pallets to plastic containers, RPC crates, automotive stillages.
We have 90 service centers across the Sub-Saharan Africa region. Some of these service centers are actually in the main urban areas. Others are positioned at smaller towns. The reason for that is to have easy access for our customers to return or hire CHEP equipment.
Being in control of your own plantations has many benefits. The first is investing in your trees. In a way, you're kind of fixing your cost. So any increases in the cost of fiber, timber, as the years go forward, you actually are a part of that, taking that benefit.
Single biggest threat to the timber is fires. Because once that fire comes through, you could lose your 15 years of growth, and you'll start from scratch and get nothing out of it really.
Okay, we have a sawmill located close to the Crichton town. The sawmill provides approximately 60% of our total timber requirements for CHEP, which includes timber components as well as pallets.
So safety in the CHEP world is extremely important. We brand it as zero harm, and that's exactly what it is. We don't want anybody to be harmed at all, being that in a physical way, a emotional way, anyway. We want the experience working with CHEP as an uplifting experience. People really feeling that they grow and they prosper within CHEP.
Sustainability very important to CHEP, not only CHEP South Africa, but CHEP globally. We are totally in line with globally accepted sustainability principles.
So we believe that our business model saves on carbon for the industry as a whole, the carbon footprint, and that's why sustainability is so core to our business. It's core to our brand, and we invest in 3 elements in our business, and we call it better business, better communities, and better planet.
You have people from different upbringing, you have people looking at life differently, and that together, when you combine it in terms of just the way how we do things, it creates an environment where people can be innovative, they can be their true selves, and it actually assists us in terms of driving our organizational strategy and executing the strategy as well.
I'll just maybe pose the first question. Could you please just share maybe opportunities in CHEP for graduates or for students, what opportunities are available?
Yeah, for sure. And I can see my colleague Rainy has also joined the call. So in terms of opportunities for graduates, we actually run a specific, what we call a GDP, which is a graduate program scheme, which is a 2-year rotation. So we take top talent and we give them insights into the business and varied business. So what would happen is it's part of a global scheme for CHEP. And we have this year 2 cohorts for the South Africa business. And what they would do, they would normally join the business in September and then have a 3-term rotation. So they would spend, for example, 8 months within the finance department, 8 months within the supply chain department, 8 months within the commercial department. They would also run some sort of two global projects, one usually related to some sort of profession and one may be aligned with some of our core values or strategies. So it could be something around sustainability. And those projects are aligned really about, yes, it's about the delivery and the content, but it's more around collaborating with peers, some of that best practice with our GDP cohorts in America and elsewhere in Europe. And the aim of the GDP is for the graduates to really, well, there's 2 things. From a graduate, when I finished university, for example, I didn't really know where my strengths were or where I wanted to be with my career. So having that visibility into finance, commercial, supply chain, different functions, hopefully when they come out of that GDP and they want to work with CHEP and they're aligned with our culture and what we're trying to do, they should also have some more self-awareness to say, okay, my career is down that direction, or I have a passion within finance, my strength is within supply chain. And more than that, it really teaches the whole purpose of the GDP is for future leaders within the business. So it should really, they have opportunity in this program to really have visibility on some project management skills, which they might not previously have. They have some leadership competencies where they will develop. We have a very kind of structured program where we will really develop their core competencies. But even outside the GDP, which is a very kind of strategic program designed for top talent graduates, there is still a lot of opportunities for, I would say, development opportunities for people, candidates on this call who maybe don't have significant work experience, where we would bring them on at entry-level roles. And I know Rhoda's on the call now, and she may be able to give you a little bit more insight. But for example, it depends on skill set. So we do have opportunities within the commercial world in terms of some of our sort of commercial contact center roles, where that's a little bit more corporate office phone based, where it's about relationship building, a lot of understanding the business. It's quite a hotbed of talent because CHEP is a complex business, and this entry level position gives you a lot of visibility to different functions. And a lot of people that start off in this hub will then, because of the visibility in different sections, similar to the GDP, although not as kind of formed or structured, it still gives them insights to the SSA business, so they can really have visibility on where they want to go with their career. Some people on the call may be interested more on the hands-on manual side. We have various service centres where we actually build, maintain, repair these pallets. It could be in the sawmills. It could be on more of the actual service centres making the pallets. So it's very diverse in terms of the path. It's not just the office commercial world. There is the more hands-on manual, kind of what we call the lifeblood of CHEP, in terms of making those pallets, because without those people on the floor, what we're doing now and the people in the offices and the logistics, we wouldn't be able to survive without those people that are actually doing the do. So there's various entries into the CHEP business, and not just in South Africa. Maybe at this level there would be, but I mean, for me, one of the key pieces is we are a true global business. So there is that path to, we are very big ambassadors of global mobility and sharing best practice and rotations in terms of, Europe and further afield and part of the iMeta business. So I think, people that join the business, and everyone's different, and they have, the immediate lens on opportunities in South Africa. But once you really, learn about CHEP, understand, develop your career, the opportunities are not just limited, although, it's a great business in itself. There is the wider lens in terms of opportunities further afield. So hopefully that's answered your question. I don't know, Rhoda, Rainu, I know you're both on the call. Anything else to add there? I must have given quite a complex answer then. That's good to know.
No, I think that was actually perfect. Our entry level, I think we lost you there, James.
I'm here.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of entry level positions that students and graduates would be very interested in, and the way James actually explained it is exactly what opportunities we are wanting to give fresh graduates. So the opportunity to be in our customer care area actually gives you a very good grounding of what the business is. So you will learn from bottom up exactly what people go through, what the customers are looking for, what our products are, and that grounding actually gives you a wonderful platform to go further and to develop a career in CHEP. So you know, even if it just looks like a position, then you might just turn up your nose against it and say, you know what, this is not what I want. But it's actually an awesome ground, awesome foot into the door in CHEP. And yeah, so we actually look at fresh graduates as well. So your applications are definitely welcome.
Nicely put, Rhoda.
Okay, I think there should be more questions.
Yes, Tumelo's having a bit of connectivity issue. So my name is Andy, and I'll take over from her. There's a question from Danny, who's asking where CHEP is located. I know the video spoke to it a little bit, but maybe you can add to that and
yes,
give more color.
Okay, so in South Africa, we have 90 branches, and majority of them are actually based at our major city centers. So like Durban, Johannesburg, East London, but we have a lot of our branches at our customer sites as well. The reason why we have so many branches is that we can, so that our customers are able to bring in and receive our products easily. So it's actually a logistical you know, favor for them. But you can actually find our major service centers. So these are the huge service centers where we actually get our products served, where our products are manufactured, painted, and you know, refurbished. We'd have major service centers in places like Durban. In Durban, it's at Kunubia, and the service center at Kunubia is something that we're very proud of. It's actually one of the highly automated service centers. And then we have branches in like Kraaifontein, in Jet Park. So pretty much all around South Africa.
All right, thank you for the response. While we wait for more questions in the chat box, maybe if I can ask that you explain the core business of CHEP a little bit for those of us that may not be familiar with the core business of CHEP.
Yeah, for sure. I'll keep it pretty high level because it is a complex business, but I'll try and summarize it best I can. So I think how CHEP would brand themselves or ourselves is that of a supply chain solutions optimizer. So it's very different. Although it has synergies with a logistics business, we're not a logistics business, which is slightly confusing. So what we do, we mainly work or specialize in the space of FMCG, retail, manufacturing, and a little bit of automotive as well, depending on where you are in the world. And we provide businesses, you know, probably a lot of the brand names you've heard of, you know, the Amazons of this world, Procter & Gamble, Unilever, ShopRite, all the big FMCG retailers with assets. So we own assets. It could be containers, it could be totes you'll find in supermarkets, but our major product, and by far our market leading product, is the pallet, wooden or plastic. So we own these pallets, which you may have seen around South Africa and around the globe, mainly the blue pallets. And we provide customers with these pallets so they can move their goods from A to B in a more sustainable and optimized manner. Now, we operate in a circular model. So, for example, we would rent or lease, is a better word, our pallets to a Unilever. And then it doesn't necessarily, how we differ from our competitors is that's more of a transactional sell. So a Unilever may go and purchase a pallet from another competitor and then discard that pallet. Now, we operate in a more sustainable manner. So we have a circular economy. So they would lease a pallet from us. That pallet from Unilever may not come back to CHEP. It may then go to P&G. And then P&G, if the quality and the metrics are right, that may then go to a different customer before it comes back to us. So it then comes back to us in our service centre where we may need to repaint the pallet or repair some panels on the pallet before going back to market. So that's the main differentiation between a lot of pooling businesses or pallet businesses globally, is we operate in a very more sustainable manner. And if you looked at our website or deep dive into some more company information, sustainability, circular model, circular economy will be the top three things you will see on any of our branding. And it's not, and that's kind of our culture, our values are based around the way we operate business. So there is a lot more to it than that. But if you see us as an asset provider for supply chain, and to be honest with you, we're probably one of the biggest companies you may have not heard about before this call, because without CHEP pallets, then goods don't move from A to B. Unilever aren't be able to put their products on the shelves in ShopRite. So people may think it's just the haulers bringing goods to store, but without the carriers, without the capability to move those goods on the trucks, which in South Africa, which is probably one of our largest markets and most profitable markets in terms of market share, I think we provide around, off the top of my head, 90% of the wooden pallets within the FMCG and retail world in South Africa. Without CHEP, then the goods aren't getting to market. So we kind of brand ourselves as the invisible backbone of supply chain. Nobody really knows we're there, but we're working in the background to move goods from A to B. Not sure if that cleared up your question. It is a complex world, and obviously I'm speaking about it like I know it, but I appreciate a lot of people, this was the first time they've heard around circular model and assets. So if you want me to, if you've got any specific questions, I'm happy to share.
Definitely, it definitely provides a bit of color and clarity, and improves the understanding of what CHEP actually does and what the core business is. And on the back of that, there are a few questions. I'll combine, there's three of them, mainly around the core or key skills, qualifications that prospective graduates or employees should possess if they want to be successful in CHEP. So if you could speak to that, please.
For sure, and it's not a difficult question, but it's a challenging one in terms of core skills, and people are different in terms of hiring managers and recruiters globally, what they look for. But for me, the technical skill set are secondary. If you move into finance, you may need some specific finance qualifications. That's a given. If you go into HR, you may need some accreditations from HR. But when I speak to candidates around opportunities at CHEP, my first conversation is more around soft skills. I think soft skills are the most important aspect around recruitment or talent acquisition. You can learn hard skills. You can't learn personality and personal traits. So for me, I think the biggest, the personal traits I look for is definitely within our global business. It's a very dynamic business. We work in a matrix organization, which means you have regional responsibilities and functional responsibilities. So somebody who is an agile person, it could be agility of learning in terms of taking on new information and adapting new information and be able to challenge themselves. It could be agility in terms of, okay, one day I am working in the South Africa business, the next day I'm communicating with peers in Europe or America. I think though the agility to deal with those situations, it's a bit of a cliche to say 2 days are not the same, but truly 2 days are not the same within the CHEP business, and you get a lot of visibility working on different projects and on different functions. So agility, and that can lead to your academic background in terms of multiple projects, the agility and the organization to manage multiple things is evident in academics as much as it is within the working life in CHEP. I feel that another soft skill which is key, slightly linked to agility, is being able to deal with ambiguity. I think the world changes every single day. CHEP changes every single day to meet the demands of our customers. And I think somebody who is able to learn on the fly and deal with ambiguity. To give you an example, at the minute we are going through a huge digital transformation across the business, which is a 2 to 3 year project. And if you spoke about this 6 months ago or maybe a year ago, people would have no idea what we're talking about. Now, everything's around how analytics can improve, how machine learning, how we can automate our supply chains for the customer. So being able to deal with change, not just on the ground, but cultural change, to always want to improve yourself, to meet the demands of the customers and the business, I think it is a key soft skill. Of course, communication, being able to deliver presentations and communicate with different populations and different demographics is key. Organization, timekeeping, all the traditional soft skills, are a given. But I think two of the more, let's say, current soft skills that I always look for in the present day is definitely around agility, definitely around ambiguity. And to be honest with you, unless I'm looking for a very technical skill set around engineering or finance, I don't tend to deep dive into that technical skill set. I think if you have those core soft skills, we have the capability to be able to teach and mentor and coach the technical skill sets. I don't know, Rhoda, Reinu, anything to add to that in terms of what you look for?
No, I think you've actually covered it quite nicely.
Okay.
It's great.
I hope our students are taking note, especially around agility. Very important in this day's world of work. Our facilitator, Dumelo, is back on the line. Dumelo, can you confirm if you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
All right, over to you then.
Great. I'll just read out the question from Lerato in the chat box. Considering the fourth industrial revolution, how is CHEP willing to evolve, to adapt to the changing times? I know James mentioned that CHEP has changed or continues to adapt their offerings to the needs of their customers. But maybe with specific reference to the fourth industrial revolution, how has CHEP managed to deal with that?
Rhoda, I don't know, do you want to take that one? I think you're on mute. There you go.
I think that we are ready. We in the background we're working with analytics a lot, trying to work with AI. It's something that we are quite interested in. So our recruitment, our characteristics that we're looking to bring into the company is also people who are quite agile with that. As James mentioned before, we do have we have current employees who actually are quite, who have to be agile to actually to go along the journey with us. So we do that by training our current staff as well. And when we are recruiting, we are looking for people who have that ability to look outside the normal JDs, to look at what's happening outside in the greater world, and to be able to adapt. So, looking at training programs, being able to update yourself with what is required in the industry. And I think one of the major advices that was actually given to me was that your degree is only valid for about 5 years, because the world is moving so fast, the industry is moving so fast. So I think CHEP actually uses that as a platform as well, where we train our people, we're looking at different ways of actually being relevant in the industry, being relevant in the marketplace, and being relevant to our employees as well. So to keep them engaged, to keep them challenged, we also have to be able to move with the marketplace. So AI is something that we've already embraced. A lot of our service centers are automated fully or semi-automated, and that we are trying to bring the rest of the service centers and jobs are being re-evaluated each time, to not just improve the processes and to make it, a smoother transition, but also for improvement. So this is something that we do consistently throughout your career, and you'll find that we are looking at even coaching, mentoring, and bringing people along so that they within their career they'll always be relevant.
Yeah, no, thanks, Rhoda. Yeah, thanks, Rhoda. And one thing I would say, just it kind of triggered what Rhoda was saying there, is that I think another skill set to look for is an innovative mind. I think if you have a background in, I wouldn't say innovation, because who has a background in innovation coming out, but if a passion for innovation is a better way to put it, then we have, I think one thing about CHEP is even at an entry level, if you have a good idea, take ownership of it. Put your best foot forward, speak to people, say, I've seen this. I'm not saying put a business case, but if you've got a great idea, we really do encourage an innovative mind, and there's no kind of red tape or hierarchy to say I couldn't speak about this. We really want to empower people to bring their thoughts, bring their innovations to the market. And I've seen things over the last few years, as we move towards AI, machine learning, and more automated, I've seen things that come from the ground and make it to the top and get implemented within our service centres. So I think that's another, just backing up what Rhoda said, I think, take the initiative, own your own career as much as your own ideas. And we really do back innovation and your own ideas within the business. A lot of these things, we assess, see the value with them, encouraged it, and put plans in place.
Thank you.
I think one of the major differences that you would see from our company in comparison to other companies is that normally you will have a career path, which would be from just say a finance manager, then a senior manager, and then a director. But within CHEP, we actually give you opportunities for cross-skilling. So this is quite unheard of in most industries, but we would actually give you an opportunity. So, for instance, to go from finance to HR. So in other companies, they would, you would probably think about why would that transition actually occur? But if you think about it, someone from finance would bring in a whole lot of learning to the HR department. And from there, the finance person actually learns the other side from HR. So hence the cross-skilling. And we've had employees who've gone from finance to HR to supply chain. And I think we've, they actually go like from one department to the other. And then the end result is actually a well-rounded person who understands the business from every aspect. And that is a skill that, you can't buy from a textbook. You can't buy from other industries. It's something that I think CHEP is is trying to evolve with all our employees, and it's a great skill to have. And if you want to become a CEO or you want to become a country manager, it's those kind of backgrounds that where you start from, and that cross-skilling that will give you an all-rounded personality, you know, as an employee, and that's an awesome experience that most companies don't offer, and I know we actually encourage that.
Thank you so much for that information. We do have a couple of questions around the requirements for the programs that James mentioned earlier. Some questions are around the specific qualifications that you need to have, but just in general, what are the requirements for graduates who would like to join the company? And if there is, you also make allowance for international students in recruitment to these programs. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I think, to be honest with you, Rhoda's probably best placed to answer those questions because she leads our GDP program on the ground for South Africa. So I think, Rhoda, why don't you take that question, and then I may have some points at the end, which I'll add to. I know it's something close to your heart, so you can lead.
Yes, so actually I have a vested interest in graduates because I believe that we need to bring in new blood into the company, new ways of thinking, and that is what our graduates actually offer us. And when I'm looking at a graduate, I'm not just looking at your scores that you've got, or obviously you would have needed to have completed a qualification. But when I chat to you, I actually want to see some enthusiasm. I would ask you questions about what's happening in the world. So I want you to be an all-rounded person. I want you to obviously be interested in CHEP. So you would have done some research about the company, and an attitude of wanting to understand where can I fit in your company, what can I do, how will this change me, what does your company do, you know, for the community, things like that. So the questions that you pose to me tells me a little bit about your personality, tells me about your enthusiasm, and tells me about your curiosity, and that is something that I can't find in your marks. I can't find it in you know, your qualification. It's something that's innate in you and that you would bring out. And for us, a culture of learning and a culture of agility is very, very important. So if you can, you know, I will find it. So you don't have to actually tell me I've got a culture of agility and I'm interested in learning. Our conversation will actually tell me the kind of person you are and if you will fit within the CHEP culture.
Yeah, I think, yeah, just one thing I also like about the GDP program, to follow on from what Rhoda said, is that we really strategically look at diversity for this program, and that's not just race. For example, you know, yes, you know, we do look at race, but more around gender. You know, so we're a huge supply chain operation. So to get females within supply chain where the demographics are not as populous, it's a great opportunity to look at high potential females who have an interest in supply chain. Equally, we could look at diversity of thought. You know, some of our senior leaders may be, this is a bit of a generic statement, but they may be 45, 50 plus. And it's a great opportunity to get some leading minds coming out of academia to challenge that, you know. So, you know, we look at all the core skills, the soft skills that I've mentioned, that Rhoda's mentioned, but for the GDP specifically, I really like the diversity piece, because I think, you know, it's to get some high talent, to challenge the leaders and you know, look at things from a different perspective. That adds to the business, that adds to the value of the business, the growth of the business. And the way we run our assessment day, you know, we will never really speak about your technical background. You know, we'll never speak about your, whether it's a 2-1, a 2-2, a master, whatever it is, it's a rare topic of discussion. The assessment day is designed to look at the core competencies that we think are true to the values of our business, like, your agility to learn, as Robert said, like your general agility, ambiguity, diversity, thought. So yeah, it's a real, I think everybody within CHEP is excited when GDP comes around, especially Rhoda. But it's a very prestigious program, and you will see, well, if you were interested and you were on the program, or at least on the assessment, you would see that all the senior leaders from the SA business are involved in this hiring process, and so it means a lot to them. It's not just a tick box for them to say, okay, let's get a couple of people in the business that they're passionate about this, they're invested in this, and it's evident from the assessments. They all have some keen insights who they bring in as future leaders of the business.
James, I would like to add here.
Of course, Renee.
Yeah. So when it comes to GDP, we also, once the person joined, it's not that's it. He get into that department and he works for them for ages. He has an opportunity to apply for different openings which come in, because every position in the company gets published on the career page, internal. So internals get the first priority for all the openings. So they are open to apply. Yes, there are some policies which we have put in place, but they get an opportunity from cross-functional teams. We also get them opportunity to refer someone once they join us, because we feel people who are referred by our internal employees are the best suited individuals and can stay with us for long. So we have various things to keep them attracted and motivated to work for forever with us.
For sure, 100%.
Thank you so much for that. I hope all the students that had asked questions around recruitment have been answered. I would like to ask this question, or rather there's a question posed there in the Q&A chat surrounding social responsibility. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, asked, what does CHEP do? Or basically, like, what social responsibility initiatives does CHEP have in place at the moment? And what is the biggest challenge that CHEP has faced since the beginning of COVID?
That's a question. That is a question. Okay, let me have a think about that one. Okay, I think let's be honest, the biggest challenge around COVID is, well, there's two, I would say. Well, there's more than two, but there's two that come to mind on different sides of the fence. I think operating in a virtual world has challenges right off the bat. It's we're doing the best we can, but I don't think you can put a value on face-to-face interactions and collaboration and engagement. I think we do well. We leverage technology. We have Zoom meetings, team meetings, but if you surveyed the 15,000 employees in CHEP, I would say 99% of them want to get back into the office for some sort of capacity. So operating in a virtual world is a huge challenge, especially for example, new graduates or new joiners who it might be their first experience in the professional or corporate world. I think you can have a great recruitment process, and then it comes to onboarding. You've never met anyone. You don't know much about the business apart from conversations you've had with myself or Rhoda or Reinu. You don't know any of the customers. You really need that thirst for learning, that thirst for value, and you're sat at home with a laptop. I just think that is a challenge, different for someone with 10 years experience who's used to working, who knows what it takes to perform and expectations. I think the sooner we can get back to some face-to-face, especially on the onboarding, the first 6 months are key for anyone's journey in terms of, the value add and feeling part of CHEP and understanding CHEP. So I think from a recruitment point of view, that has been a huge challenge operating in the virtual world. Of course, all the health issues, I think we all talk about business and everyone thinks about profits and revenues. if you look at CHEP, the number one priority of anywhere, South Africa, UK, America, is safety. Our policy is zero harm, and that's not a tick box. It's built into everybody, every employee's key objectives, zero harm. So when you live and breathe zero harm and safety like a company like CHEP, to then have a global pandemic where you're passionate about it and you can have very little influence in terms of safety apart from doing the best you can in terms of process and procedures. I think, our HSE team, health and safety team, and every employee feels frustration. They can't do more. And it's hard to operate in a world where you have to look after safety first, So those two pieces have been very challenging for us, for me personally, for us as a business. We could get into some more technical things, but I don't think it's probably the right forum for that. So I think that's challenges from my side. In terms of social responsibility, I don't know who asked the question, if they want to elaborate, but I can give one insight, and is that I think, we used to talk about key priorities as a business 12, 18 months ago, and well-being and mental health was probably a discussion point, but it may have been 4 or 5 on the priority list. There was probably 2 or 3 things that we discussed around that, and well-being was probably the last 10 minutes of the meeting. Is everybody okay? Is everyone feeling well? Is the team's okay? Now we have, global programs. We have people whose sole responsibility is health, well-being, mental health, physical health, support. There we have, specific numbers you can call around well-being and mental health support as a business. So it's a pillar within our health and safety policy around well-being and social responsibility, which, like I say, 18 months ago was a discussion point without much action. Now that there was always going to be action, but I think COVID has definitely sort of accelerated that conversation, as it rightfully should do. And now everybody, it's a conversation topic, and mental health used to be an uncomfortable conversation. It used to be a little bit of a taboo. Can we ask people how they're doing? Can we really dig into personal life when it's not, when we know these people virtually? Now, I think the barriers are down, and, the first 5 minutes of any meeting, any call is, how are you feeling? How are the family? How's your mental health? Are you struggling? Do you want to have a coffee around just discussing things? You don't have to speak about blue pallets, and I think there's not many silver linings around COVID, but if I take one, then that will be it. I think we've got to know as a business each other as people, rather than just candidates and employees. It's okay, there's work secondary, but we're all people, and we want to know that everyone's doing okay. So there's a lot more to it than that, but if you ask me my key priorities about social responsibility and well-being and some challenges, for me, that's kind of where we sit. That's my opinion. I don't know, Rhoda, Rainey, anything to add on there? I know we've all got passion and opinions around this piece.
Okay, I think when it comes to CSR, we're a global company. We actually do what most companies do. So feeding schemes, being out there in the communities, assisting where it's needed for education, for schooling, for just being able to put some essential necessities for people. So we do all of those kind of things in our communities, and I think that's like most other companies. But where we differ, I think, would be a few years ago, we actually started buying farms down in the Underberg, Crichton, Ikopo area. So one of the reasons for that was obviously to get some timber for us to make our pallets, but it was a plan way beyond that. So we decided that we could use the communities around there to create employment for them. It was a very poor area. Employment was very limited in those rural areas. So I think to date, we've got about 18 farms So that's huge. You know, there's a lot of employment that we've actually created there. Previously, we used to rely on timber that came from Brazil and areas like that. And we decided that we wouldn't go along those easy routes. We decided to learn how to farm the timber ourselves. Then we bought a sawmill called Weatherboard Sawmill, and that's also in that area. And we actually created employment for the people in the sawmill as well. So we are very dedicated to the communities in South Africa. We are very dedicated to the learning, to the employment and the upliftment of communities. And these are some of our projects that actually help us to give back to a community that keeps us in business. And we've also got amazing projects that are very exciting to the young mind. So we have regasification projects in those areas where we actually use waste material in the sawmill to power up the sawmill. Then we use, we have another project that's still kind of going and is very interesting, where we actually use waste plastic and we're trying to melt it down and make blocks for the pallets. So the wooden pallets now would have a plastic block on each side that is actually extruded from waste material. So it's all of those kind of things that are giving employment to people, sustaining the environment, and making sure that we uplift our community, our South African community, and giving back to the very people that keep us in business. I hope that challenges you a little bit to find out more about those projects as well. You're welcome to visit our websites, and I think that someone has a copy of our QR code, which they would send, which they will display on the system now, so that you guys can actually scan it in, and then you'd have our contact details. It's actually the contact details of Renu. She's based in India, but she's very, very much involved in the recruitment process in South Africa as well. And you'll be able to have to contact her and send us your CVs for if you're interested in the graduate program, and if you're interested in just finding out about the opportunities in CHEP. And also we do advertise our vacancies on PNet, on LinkedIn. So follow us and try and find out if there's any positions that you are interested in, and you're welcome to pick up the phone or send us an email, and we'd love to have a conversation with you. If you are the right person that we could embrace in our community, within our culture in CHEP, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, like Robert said, if you do log onto our website and you have a passion or interest in CSR, our sustainability director has just released kind of a document or some literature on the zero waste world, which is what Rhoda was speaking about in terms of food banks and sustainability. So have a read through that. It will give you a lot more deep dive into the very good high level explanation Rhoda just given.
Thank you so much. We have a question by Moteo. Yes, who asks, what happens to the pallets that are no longer used or in usable condition? How are they disposed?
To be honest, I don't know the exact metrics, but we reuse our pallets a lot. So for example, if there was damage, then it's not like we discard the pallet. There may be a broken slat or a broken piece of wood, which we would then maintain, repair, build, nails in and repair. So it's a hard question to answer, because I don't know the exact, let's say, waste percentage of pallets, but unless they were significantly damaged, unless they're significantly damaged, we would be able to reuse them, because that's what our service centres do. So they go out to the customer. Like I said, they would then go to maybe a different customer or 2 or 3 in that chain. Once that pallet is damaged, and only when that pallet is damaged and doesn't meet the quality metrics of the customer, does it get returned to our service centre. And I would say 99 times out of 100, we then repair that pallet back to circulation within the economy. And that's why, depending on what index you read, we are either number 1 or 2 on the most sustainable companies in the world in terms of recycling, sustainability, etc., because we operate in this model of reuse, repair, recycle. I'm not saying that we would never discard any pallet ever. I'm sure that does happen, but the whole ethos and the way we operate is once it does get damaged, it comes back to the service centre to be repaired, brand new, quality, goes back out to circulation.
Right. Okay, thank you. I think I'll just ask this question. In the event that we have the same problem as COVID-19 again, what plans do you have in place now to ensure that you continue providing your service and the company remains stable and competitive?
I don't even want to think about another wave of COVID or that ever happening again. But if it did, whoever answered that question, I don't know, you need some more positive mindset. But I think, as in all kind of global pandemics, you take some learnings. I think, in terms of the last 18 months, what the business has done well, and maybe some improvements. So you can always have a precedent. You always have a baseline in terms of what took 6 months to improve this time around. If it does happen again, and it doesn't have to be COVID, it could be another global pandemic or some further challenges. We have a case study. We have, some background data to say this is what we need to do. So there's a precedent. I think Brambles and CHEP, Brambles is the corporate name, and CHEP, in terms of a pandemic like COVID, if you're looking at just in terms of deliverables to the customer, then the silver line is we've been able to perform through the last 18 months. And I think due to our business operation and our markets, FMCG, retail, I don't want to use the word lucky, but we've been fortunate to specialize in the areas of markets, and we will continue to expand those markets with FMCG retail that people will always need food. People will always need those consumer goods in terms of hand sanitizer, in terms of, just general cleanliness and medical supplies and wipes, things like that, bleach. So this is the world in which we operate. So if people have a need for the food, for consumer goods, then the way that those products get from manufacturing to the shops, to the people, especially more so in South Africa than anywhere else, is on a CHEP pallet or within a CHEP container. So our business model is protected to a certain extent for a global pandemic, because consumers, us, will always need the products that need to be delivered by CHEP pallets. So if you look at the financials, then our profits over the last 18 months have exceeded where we were in previous years. So in terms of career stability, whereas, for example, automotive, if you move, I'm not saying don't move into automotive, because hopefully we'll never have a global crisis, but you look at the travel industry, you look at the automotive industry, as soon as you get a global pandemic, halt, and then there's the uncertainty around jobs, there's uncertainty around financial future. With Brambles and CHEP, because of the markets we operate in, I don't want to use the word immune, but we're protected in terms of, we've not made any redundancies due to the global pandemic globally. So that should give you some reassurance that, God forbid it happens again, you're pretty stable within your career. And to give you just another example, which I found yesterday, which I think is evident to our stability, is that globally, we hire in a true year around 1,200 positions a year globally. This year, for the last financial year, which was June to June, we did 1,100. I think there was a 10% decline in headcount. I think if you looked at the majority of companies globally, that figure would be closer to 30–40%. So to only have a decrease in 10% headcount in terms of recruitment kind of just emphasizes that we are protected in terms of any downfall in market.
Just to add, James, to what you said,
Sure.
I think, as a company, safety is something which we keep it on a priority. So when it comes to the safety of the employees as well, so we definitely came up with a quick turnaround into what model we should use to keep our employees safe, which we called it as a hybrid model globally. So that way, the employees were safe enough to be home. And I'm sure if we come up with a similar situation in future, we already have done the base work and we should be ready with what needs to be done next. So I'm sure we have answered your question, what you were looking for.
Yes, thank you so much.
I would just like to add something quickly. I think the litmus test was COVID last year when it started, because we didn't see it. It blindsided every business. And for us, the fact that our business model was so strong and that we came out making a profit, that we came out stronger, we were still recruiting. We were one of the only companies in South Africa that were still recruiting. I think if you are looking at security, because we don't know where COVID's going, we don't know where the economy is going, and we don't know what the long-term effects of all of this is going to be. I think if you are looking for a career and you are looking for stability, we're a company that touches every other industry. So it's like from fruit and veg all the way to automotive, every industry uses us, and therefore we are so stable. We will have process improvements and things like that, but we haven't had any retrenchments. So if you are looking for an exciting, challenging career, you are looking for stability, which is something that is, I think, not just unique to South Africa in this economy. I think you will do well to have a second and a third look at CHEP. If you are interested in trying to further your career in whichever business unit you actually want to go ahead with. I know that we've just got a few minutes. We've actually over time. Can I please ask if someone's got that QR code to display it onto the screen so that the students who were not able to ask a question actually have that that platform to get a hold of us and to send their CVs or their questions. It's on the screen now, so thank you very much for that. Don't know if you want to say anything else, James.
No, like I say, welcome. Obviously, we had an hour and some great questions. I really appreciate the engagement and the interest. Like Rhoda said, I'm passionate about CHEP. I'm sure Raina and Rhoda, similar to me, I think it's a brilliant place to work for some of the reasons I've already touched upon. There's a lot more to it than that. And again, happy to have any further conversations, and really, hopefully we'll be speaking to a few of you in the future as well. So just want to send some final thanks.
Thank you so much to all the questions and the answers that have been shared. I would like to hand over to Andile, who will just share some information and close off the session for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tumelo. Just a quick one, just to wrap up. The QR code is on screen, so please do scan that into your mobile device, and you can get a hold of Rainy through that. But also just to mention that as Enactus South Africa, we've got a very strong relationship with CHEP, and just a call to our students to look out for CHEP opportunities on our website, on our social media pages. We recently had a recruitment drive for the bursary program that we're running in collaboration with CHEP. There are also opportunities to come into the graduate development program. So please do look out for those. We publish them just about every year. And I think we're in our second year now of offering those opportunities. So just to sensitize the students to say, look out for those. There are opportunities. Stay glued to our website, stay glued to our socials, and the opportunities are there for you. And then to wrap up, thank you so much to the CHEP representatives, James, Rhoda, Renu, for coming on. I know Kerry had to leave, but thank you for coming on and taking care of all of our questions. From an Enactus perspective, we are also open to the students sending more questions, which we can relay to CHEP, and then relay the responses back to ensure that all the questions are taken care of, and also that the opportunities that CHEP offers are shared with our students. Thank you so much to everyone. We're about 8 minutes over time. Have a lovely day further, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.